Hey, what's going on everybody? Servo here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to take a look at the river kit. We're going to look at a couple tips, a couple different builds, and I'm going to give you guys a quick beginner guide on how to actually use this and make it a little easier because it is pretty overwhelming at first, and I will have more guides coming out soon. But if you guys enjoy my content, please be sure hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's just jump right into it. Alrighty guys, so this is actually leaving today, or at least it should. You know, the shop refreshes in 18 hours at reset tomorrow on Wednesday, and I highly recommend that you guys pin this item if you don't have enough moonstones and you're actually pretty interested in this item. I think it's top 5, one of the best items in the premium shop right now, alongside like a lot of the different wall sets. This is something that honestly truly changes how you play the game going forward, from decorating to creating dream snaps. And it's almost like getting that feature that we had always wanted, which was to create ponds. Now it's 3,750, which is very expensive, but unlike purchasing, you know, just a single house, this is something you're going to be able to use for so many things. So I do personally think this is worth it. Now let's go take a look at the actual pieces, because as you see, there are 20 different pieces, which is kind of overwhelming. Now, the first thing that I would do whenever you actually get this is I would go to Scrooge's shop and I would buy some extras. That to me makes it feel like it's less confusing, because if you run out of a piece and then you're going to be looking in your inventory for that piece and then not find it, but there's so many that look very similar. Now it is very expensive, so hopefully you have a good amount of coins up here. And most of the pieces are about 2,800, close to 2,900. So if you were to buy like say 15 of each kind, that's going to cost you about 43 to 50,000 for each piece to have duplicates. Now once you get those pieces, I would head over to a floating island and just throw one of each of them out, just so you can get familiar with the pieces. Not necessarily like memorize the name to each piece, but just understand how it works. So for example, you have different water styles. Like you have these giant water blocks right here, and then it gets smaller and then smaller until you have like a single square, which you're going to use very often. And then another thing to remember is there's also only 2 pieces that are like smaller squares to fill in that actually have stuff on them, like the little lily pads here and the logs. So you have giant bodies of water and then just 2 of these to fill in, and there is only 3 of the little side pieces. So this is going to create the bank of your river, and that right there helped me understand this set a lot more, knowing that there was only 3. For some reason, looking through the menus, it seems like there's a lot more. And then when you are decorating, you then know you just have to add your curves, your angles, your corners and stuff. And that's going to be all these pieces here. So then you're going to have some that's on different sides. And then you have one that has a little bridge here. One that has a little log here. This one that looks like just a big old pizza slice. You got this smaller piece right here. And then the last piece is the most important piece. So this tiny one with the rocks in the water in this corner. This is what you're really going to use to curve the your river. This piece is like your inner corner, and it's going to be very important. So for example, if you were building something and you wanted this, but you wanted it to curve out this way, you would then take this piece right here and rotate it, and then you could attach it like that. And then you can go and take another piece and then do it like that. So then your river is actually flowing like this, rather than just, you know, doing a straight line, which I feel like a lot of people are probably going to do in the beginning, is something like this. Make it straight, and then go and then curve it like this, and then probably just end it off by curving it like this. You don't have to just finish your river like that. You can take one of those inner corner pieces and go multiple directions. So we could go like this, and then you could keep the flow going diagonal. So that's one thing that's very important to learn. Now another very important thing is you can actually put a house on here. Like if you're over in the floating island and you put like Ursula's house, you can do that, but there is currently a bug that once you place that house there, it'll be stuck until GameLoft fixes it. So it happened to me, it happened to many others, but you can put houses here. Like you can put Ariel's house here. I recommend if you're going to place it on top of this giant water section, you actually do it in just the normal valley itself. Do not do it on a floating island. And then so the river kit works just like that. You would go ahead and connect pieces, you know, however you want. It doesn't have to be even. And honestly, it shouldn't always be even as well. So then you can keep doing this to fill in little spots. And then I'm going to show you a little something that you can use to practice to make like a smaller build, just to really get the hang of this. So when I first got this, I came over here to Storybook Vale and the Beanstalk Marshes. And I ended up using this little like footprint to trace a Mickey pond. So you could go ahead, let me go ahead and remove all these pieces. So as you see, we have this hidden Mickey over here, and it was a great thing to really learn how to curve your paths and fill in the spots and how this thing works. So if you have this location, you can do that. And what I would do is I just placed it on the edges. So for example, I kind of filled it in like this. I had that little tiny curved piece, and then I had a straight one and then curved it again. And then we used that inner corner that we were talking about to actually round it so I could start getting the path to go over this way. And then we have a straight edge and then the inner corner again. And then another little tiny straight edge. So this is another very important piece. You see how I needed this smaller piece to actually fill it up right here so then I can round this spot. Had I used this large piece, it wouldn't have been like fully even. So then I can use this smaller straight edge, and then I can use this one to rotate it because the edge of this rounded piece was not as big as the edge of this piece right here. So that kind of helped balance that out. And then we did another straight edge, and then another large rounded corner, and then work our way down here. So you see why this is a good piece to actually trace and just get the hang of how this works. So then I just kept filling out like this, and then use these smaller blocks to fill the inside of it. And then eventually I put the larger pieces just to add some stuff inside of my pond where I didn't want it to be just empty water. You know, you actually want to texture it up a little bit just to make it, just to pretty it up. Now, unfortunately, you are not allowed to fish in these ponds. I know that would have been such a cool feature to actually be able to create your own little custom ponds and fish in them. But yeah, you can't do that. And then in the middle, I ended up putting this very large piece here. And the reason I did that was so if I ever wanted to place a large piece of furniture, there is some space because there is squares to place things here. So it just worked out perfectly. And then we're going to finish up the pond right here. And that's how I created my first little hidden Mickey pond. Now, you don't even need something that's built into the environment. You can actually use paths and decorate however you want. So if you wanted to create your own little border or outline, you can do that with a path because the paths can actually go underneath the pond. So if you are also learning how to use the ponds, you can use path to trace out what you want in your biome, or at least get an idea of how you want your river to look and flow. And then once you nail it, you can then go ahead and just decorate around it, or at least help guide you. And then you can just fully remove the outline whenever you are finished. So that's another tip that's going to help you out a lot. Now, some more great tips about this. Since you can put paths in here, you can actually put some other stuff. You can actually put all of the rugs in the water if you want. Some of them stick up, some of them don't. You can actually put this piece right here. And then if I were to back out, you can have flowers on top of it with the giant like Mirabelle rug. So it might look good in some areas, and then maybe others it doesn't because it is very bright and vibrant. But don't forget, you can texture up the corners of your pond with bright and colorful items too to help offset that. You can also go down the paths. You can put the mome rat. Oh, sorry, you can't put the mome rat patch. You can put like the garden stones in here if you want, although it's kind of hard to see. You can put books in here if you want to make it look like there's just some books floating in the water. Obviously, it looks better when you have the grid gone. So then it looks like there's just a couple of them floating in there. And you can do this with like most of the paths and most of the items in the game. Even in the star path, they ended up giving us some small natural coral reef sculptures. You can place those in here. You can use it to decorate. And then you can also put like the reeds in here. So you can place those in here. We got the jungle reeds. You have standard lily paths. You also have Tiana's lilies over here as well. You can place in there. And there's just a lot of things. So definitely mess around with it. Now, you cannot actually walk on it, though. The only way you could actually get a piece on your character for a picture, you would have to create a little spot that you can walk in there, and then you would have to place it on top of your character. Sometimes you have to be like very quick like this to do it, and then you could go and take a picture that way. But as you see, once I place the item down and I put the stuff inside of that little water square, you can actually move the whole piece which makes it easier for actually moving your builds rather than having to get rid of this, get rid of your lilies, and then move this. So that's another feature I really love. And then pretty soon you're going to be creating builds like this with your river. Like I said, you can use this in a dream snap. You can use it just to decorate your valley. And this is what I have come up with first. This is my first major build. I ended up putting those little boats in there. I have some of the star path items. Of course, we decorated it with a bunch of other stuff, you know, some rocks. I have a little river like canal piece right here I created that actually led to the pre-made pond item piece that they actually had right here. So this piece is actually a pond that's decorated by itself, like it's just one large piece. So I actually connected them to this part, and then I just used little pieces like this. And then I have the smaller squares to fill it in. We went straight edges like this. And then all of this is fully custom made with just the variety of different pieces that we have. Also have the corners here. And then it leads up to the major piece, which is this one right here, which is the one that's on the cover art. And it is beautiful. And here is what that piece looks like. It already has a rainbow on it. And they kind of started off your river. And it's pretty large on the backside. You have these rocks which look good. And then here is the other custom pond that you already have. Now you can also create small ponds with just a couple pieces as well. Say I wanted, you know, say I have this empty spot over here in my meadow, right? I could go ahead, I could clean up this little area right here. And then we can go ahead and get rid of this path right here. And then we can make a little custom pond if we wanted to. So I can go to these pieces. And then I would start with, you know, I could even just use a couple of these very large pieces like this. I could do something like that. I could use this one right here, place it there. I could honestly use another piece just like that. We could rotate it and place it like that. And then get this piece here with the log and use just 4 pieces. And now I have a miniature pond that would look good in a build. Or I could then go ahead and click on this, get rid of this. And instead of going back into my furniture menu and then like looking for it, you can press whatever button it is on the bottom left down there that says similar items. For me, it's G. I can press G and it's automatically going to pop up with this menu of these items. So that's another tip that's going to help you with decorating. And then I could just go straight edge like this, rotate, place one there. And then I could go and get this corner piece. And we could place it down right here and make it a larger pond. You can also duplicate the item pieces that you have as well if you want to make it symmetrical. So I could just hit X on mouse and keyboard, rotate, slap this down. And then again, we're going to press the G. And then I need a piece here in the middle and I could place it there. And now I have like a medium-sized pond. Or if I didn't want to do that, I could actually have it funnel off and run into the actual larger pond right here. So then we get to like this. I ended up putting another big piece here. We got the smaller one right here. Now we're getting to a spot where there is a smaller section and a large straight edge. It's going to take it too far. So then I would just go hit G and we're going to look for the smaller section. Remember, there's just 3 of these straight parts. So I would take that and then I could connect it like this and that's going to fix it. Then we'll rotate this side, do that. And then you can round it if you want with like one of the smaller pieces. So I would use this tiny little pizza slice looking one right here. And then we would rotate it like this. Place it here. Put the other one up here. And then we can go and grab one of these pieces and finish it off. And now we have a little pond by the much larger pond. And then I could decorate this a little bit if I wanted to. I could put, you know, some flowers around here, some bushes. And it just looks beautiful. So that is it for the video. I hope this video helped you out a lot, at least get you started. Like I said, I'll have more guides and builds on this item because it's just so fun to do. I know it's very overwhelming at first, but I promise you, once you find a day in your schedule and you can spend 30 minutes to 45 minutes just messing around with it, it's gonna come together a lot easier. You're gonna get used to the pieces and you'll be able to like envision in your brain what you want on paper on your actual build just based on messing around with each item. You're going to get used to all of the item pieces, so it will get a lot easier, I promise you. I know at first I was like, man, I love this item, but I don't want to deal with it. It'll get easier, I promise. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have the best day, and I'll see you in the next one.